The University Art Galleries and Collections are grateful to participate in the installation of the fourth moon, the Great Moon, in the foyer of the Gordon Snellgrove Gallery. As always, we will benefit from a welcome from Elders Florence Highway and Evelyn Linklater, and this moon will be brought in with a message from Winona Wheeler, who will be introduced shortly by Sandy Bonney. We're sending this message from the past, pre-recording in early December to mark this late December moon. Let us hope it brings in a very good year to come, and that we've learned the lessons of this one that showed us just how fully we are connected across this planet and called out to us to care for one another. I'm joined here today again by Sandy Bonney, the STEM team leader at ISAP, geologist, author, and one of 3 key collaborators in this project that includes Vanessa Higgin and our artist in residence last year, Lyndon Tutusis. Together, we worked alongside students and community to produce these beacons that conflate so many markers of time that now welcome us into this space. I also want to thank Kyle Zuravinsky behind the camera and our partnership with Paved Arts that's making this event and its documentation possible. The Saskatchewan Arts Board, the Canada Council for the Arts, the College of Arts and Science at the University of Saskatchewan. While you'll be joining us through the ether, I wish to acknowledge the University of Saskatchewan Art Galleries and Collections are physically located on Treaty 6. This treaty marks out, in part, the territories of the Nehiawa, Anishinaabe, Saulteaux, Dene, Nakota, Lakota, and the ancestral homelands of the Métis peoples. Borrowing the language of the feminist media studio in Jajage, Montreal, we share in the belief that territorial acknowledgement is both necessary to our project and inadequate, particularly if not joined in demands for restitution and reparation. As a site for making public the production of making thinking and thinking making, the art galleries at the University of Saskatchewan acknowledge the settler colonial context in which our conversations and collaborations take place and recognize the work to be done towards accountability and reciprocity. The generosity of all involved in this project and the presence of the grandfathers here mark space and make place for you all. I cannot wait until we can all be together again, but just know that we're making it better here and making it safe.
Anots may here to take away at the people there would the mamisko mayak out upawat again assist kawi wipats the matagimit agwa yewa uchi utagapi tutiak aguasche isipi semina yagumina gutak wipats at matagimau punagimiche pawat sa ginasis punagimiche utego wida kisipi sem igisti de mayak igisti de tagos at sig uguta pisimok igutse umutagapi tutiak tananas kumayak simanto igimide guak igiawi guak agidagi do taski tagisti de metuak tagisti de magmina agidagi guak agimide guisi agitu diago pisem tagisti de mayak tagiskoy pisem guys tagisti de mayak isnano komite tagiskoy pisem egwe tamata gimit iawawa upawat sa ginasis wipats egwasitse isipi semina Yagumina tagisti de mag. Iguse tamats. Inigi. Hey.
So we're down here by the weir and we're going to record the meaning of December. Almost the beginning. We're almost the last few days of November now for December. And in Cree, she said it's a frosted moon. So that'll be all of December. And we got to remember that everything that's here on earth is loaned to us. That's why we have to show a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation for all the things that are loaned to us. And for January, it's the great moon, the beginning of a new year, and the same thing, all the values, all the guiding values being taught to us by the elders, that we need to show and appreciate everything that's loaned to us here on earth. So we thought we want to thank Angela, Vanessa, and I hope that all the students will learn something from these, and when they're down by the river, to appreciate everything that's around us, that sustains us in life. So with that, we want to thank you and good luck. We all need that, from our hearts to yours. Our prayers, our smudge will go out to you as we end our session. And everybody have a good day. Hi.
Hello, my name is Sandy Bonney, and I work as Team Lead for Indigenous Student Achievement Pathways, ISAP, in the College of Arts and Science. And I'm here today to introduce a message that we're bringing especially for students. This is a remote year due to COVID-19, and we're really treasuring these times when we are being called to communicate with you by this project and, of course, by the lunar cycles. We're recording this message earlier in December, but it will be released to students on December 30th. So this is the day after the Kisipisim, the great moon, will be a full moon in the sky. Thinking ahead to that time, I know that it will be that little lull between Christmas and New Year's. Most of you won't have a lot of academics on your mind, and I hope that you're finding time to refresh and relax and connect with family. And as we begin thinking ahead, I think it's really exciting that we have a message to you from Dr. Winona Wheeler. Winona Wheeler is a professor in the Department of Indigenous Studies. She's a member of the Fisher River Cree Nation in Treaty 5 territory, Manitoba, but her family comes from George Gordon's First Nation in Treaty 4 territory here in Saskatchewan. And Winona has Cree, Assiniboine, Saulteaux, and English-Irish ancestry. She's been a professor here at the U of S since 1988. And she's a lifelong student of Indigenous histories, anti-colonial theory, treaty rights, and traditional Indigenous knowledge. And I think that most students see her in the classroom as an instructor, but Winona has also been really an advocate for Indigenization at the university for a very long time. And I think that a lot of the ideas and policies and advocacies that we have in place for students have often come from her care and concern for the success of students and for the role of Indigenous knowledge to be honored within our contemporary academic traditions. And so I'm very pleased to welcome Winona's message for you today.
Danse, and hello. I shake hands with each and every one of you. I thank the elders for their good words and the ISAP folks for inviting me to share some words of support and encouragement with you today. Winona Wheeler Natusnakasayan, Ochakwesipi Cree Nation, Treaty 5 Territory, Ochinya. Magani Mama comes from George Gordon First Nation, near Punachai, Saskatchewan, in Treaty 4 Territory. My home is near Duck Lake, traditional lands of the Willow Cree in Treaty 6 Territory. I'm a mother, a stepmother, a grandmother of 12, and I live on an acreage with 6 horses, 4 dogs, and an old barn cat. My university credentials, I have a Bachelor of Arts Honors degree from University of Manitoba, a master's degree from University of British Columbia, and my PhD is from the University of California, Berkeley. I've been an associate professor of Indigenous Studies at the University of Saskatchewan on and off since 1988. The academic credentials aside, what's more important is the education journey. My first message here today is to let you know how proud I am of you. What an amazing strength and courage you're showing by starting university in these challenging times. I also want you to know that the academic journey you're embarking on is exciting, scary, and totally doable when you take good advantage of all the supports available to you. Students find their own strategies for surviving and thriving in university. Mine was about staying grounded, maintaining balance, making sure I had supports in place, and always keeping my purpose in sight. Like many Indigenous professors you're going to have at the university, I'm first generation university graduate on both sides of my family. I was also first generation urban, and I'm a grade 10 dropout. I was lucky. After I left school, I worked all sorts of odd jobs, and I landed a really cool job with the Union of BC Indian Chiefs out in Vancouver. They're like our FSIN, doing research in the land claims office, and I totally loved it. After years of facing Department of Justice lawyers and PhD historians with my grade 10 education, I realized I needed to learn how they think, and I needed all the skills that they had in order to beat them good. So I entered university as a mature student. And back then, there were only a handful of Indigenous students on university campuses, and we faced some really brutal racism and stereotypes. But what kept me going was staying grounded, the love of family, the support of family and friends, making sure I lived a balanced life as best I could, the mind, the body, the emotions, the spirit, taking care of the total person. And that all meant developing really strong and serious time management skills. Always keeping my purpose in mind kept me going to acquire the skills I needed to fight for land rights. I had an amazing mom, a very strong woman, and this one time she asked me how I did on an exam, and I told her I passed. Oh, I passed. And she said, "What grade did you get?" And I said, "I got a 70. And she said, kind of like in motherly fashion, "Oh, and you're happy with that? That's kind of average, isn't it?" And I went, "Yeah." And then she got kind of mean, I thought, at the time. She said, 70% is mediocre, my girl. Mediocre warriors don't win wars. And that really stuck to me. That still drives me forward. That still pushes me to be the best I can be and to get the highest grades I could possibly get. It really pushed me through university. It's important to manage your time so that you can balance everything you need to do in everyday life. Time for family, time for getting out on the land, time to practice your spiritual beliefs. The reality is, dedication to your post-secondary education is a huge commitment. Some consider it a huge personal sacrifice because you put all of your wants on the shelf. Your wants go out the window and you focus in on your needs. But it's totally doable. I'm going to share a little story with you because something really cool happened lately, and it made me realize yet again how important our undergraduate work is. How the kind of important work undergraduate students can do. I remember I mentioned I worked as a land claims researcher back in the day, and a few years later, when I was in university, I was taking this history class. And the major paper for this history class was to write a history of a community. So I chose to write a history of Fisher River Cree Nation. So for this class, I had to do archival research. I found the original survey plan. I found other land records. I discovered that the band was promised more land than they received. So I sent my paper and a letter to my chief at the time, and I told him, "I think we have a land claim here." And a few years later, when a new chief came on board, was voted in, he saw my paper, and he asked me to meet with council, and then he asked me to do more research and prepare a land claims report. So in 1989, we started the research project. And this picture here shows you the yellow areas here around the reserve are the lands that we lost that we should have had. That's the basis of our land claim. So this undergraduate university research paper resulted in a 5-year oral history project where we interviewed 36 elders. We collected over 1,200 black and white turn-of-the-century photographs, compiled hundreds of documents from different archives all across Canada, had death records, baptism, marriage records going back to the 1840s. And the land claims case, it was formally filed in 1991. And finally this year, 29 years later, the claim has been validated. And I just found out last week that my band is negotiating a settlement that could result in about a $15 million compensation package. All of that from one undergraduate paper. I believe in experiential learning. I believe in community service learning, where students get to experience the potential value and importance of their work to our communities. So while I'm teaching research skills and critical thinking skills, while I'm teaching deeper reading comprehension, writing skills, students get to apply their work to real life projects. So experiential learning is an engaged learning process where students learn by doing and by reflecting on the experience. Experiential learning activities can include hands-on laboratory experiments, internships, practicums, field exercises, study abroad, undergraduate research, land-based education, studio performance. The bottom line is that a universal education is much more than classroom and book learning. There are so many opportunities to travel abroad, to engage in community-based research projects, to meet and learn from different cultures, develop skills that will be useful to our communities, and provide a fulfilling career for you. So I wish you all the best in your new adventure. If there's anything I can do to help, you can find me on the USask Indigenous Studies webpage. My email address is there. This is the Great Moon, and I encourage you to strive to be the best you can be. Take care.